Welcome back to the weekend show. Joining me now is our sports correspondent, Odiri. Hello, lady. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. We're missing Ina today, our entertainment correspondent. She's taking a short break, but she'll be joining us next week. So, how's your week?
Great. I think the Christmas fever has finally caught up with me.
Yay!
Yeah.
So you're in a festive mood.
Yeah, I've been driving around and we were hoping to hear jingle bells or something. And then I heard something funny yesterday.
What did you
on
hear?
my mom's phone. It's like the Urobo version of Jingle Bell.
Oh my Lord.
Oh, Jingle Bell, oh, Jingle Bell. Like, oh, God.
I love the Christmas season because there are always so many renditions to all these Christmas songs. The song by Mariah Carey, the All I Don't Want.
All I Want for Christmas.
All I Want for Christmas. You see, I should stop trying to sing. But All I Want for Christmas, she did, I saw like a Nigerian rendition to that. I laughed out loud. It was hilarious. I think they even tried to do it in Pidgin, then tried to do it in several languages. Hilarious.
You have so many talents in this country.
So many. But in the political scene, the Minister of State for Environment, Ibrahim Jibril, resigned from the federal cabinet. He has been appointed as the new emir of Nasarawa. This came as a shock to quite a few people because he was the Minister of State of Environment before Amina Mohammed moved to the United Nations as Deputy Secretary General. So they assumed that this position was very befitting for her Minister of State, given the fact that he was able to understudy her work during her time. So given the fact that he has now resigned the appointment in the federal cabinet to assume a position as a traditional ruler is quite interesting.
Well, the first thing I asked when I saw it, I just asked myself, which is better, being the minister or being an emir? So I just discovered that as a minister, you're accountable to the Nigerian people. You have targets. You have to meet goals and objectives. You know, you have a lot of things to do, and everyone will ask you questions. Then, when you resign and you go and become a traditional ruler, you're answerable to your people. Your people are your responsibility. So, as much as maybe being a minister might be more glamorous, but I think direct responsibility is what being a traditional ruler brings for him.
Interesting perspective. The Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, ASUP, has begun an indefinite strike. We've been talking about strikes since the beginning of this show over the consistent failure of government to implement the signed 2010 agreement with the union. We've had, as I said, many discussions about this in the past.
As in, we've been doing it consecutively, like 3 weeks ago, strike action, 2 weeks ago, strike action, last week, strike action, this week again, strike action.
Everybody is striking. We're actually going to discuss this in details on the political segment of the program. But as we said, the people that this is affecting, for example, the students, you know, someone tweeted, why don't students mobilize, galvanize each other and go out to the streets and protest against this? And most people said the youth of today is not as organized as the youth of, you know, the 60s, the 70s, who were able to use their numerical power to demand what they wanted from government.
I think it was not about organization. I think at the end of the day, as a parent or as a mom or as a dad, you don't tell your 15, 16, 20-year-old, okay, if you don't like something, you can go to the street and talk about it with the government. I know you wouldn't want to do that because your child might not come back home. So that it could easily become violent.
It was just as dangerous back then as it is now.
Yes, as it is now. I think maybe
in fact, it might have even been more dangerous back then.
Yes, because of the crimes.
Exactly.
Yeah, the heads of state and all those. But
so what is it? Our youth not as confident? What exactly is it?
No. It's not about confidence. And I think as much as they're going on strike, the question will be, do they think of the students, right? But the students should ask themselves, they're on strike right now. What they're going on strike for is the 2010 agreement that the government has reneged on. How does that improve the economy? Because as much as everyone goes to school, you want to graduate, you want to get a job, has that helped? Now, they get what they want. I think it has to do with salaries and welfare and remunerations and all that. it doesn't improve the students' lives. I'm saying, like we said when ASU went on strike, I said that as much as you want to improve facilities at universities, I think the National Universities Commission, the entire university, body of universities in the country should sit down and ask themselves, let's have a plan for the next 10 years. This is where we should be at. Oh, waiting for government since we started universities in this country, people waiting for government, going on strike, doing everything. It's not worked out as well as it should be. So let's find a way. Someone said you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and then you expect a different result.
But you understand their frustration, right?
I do.
Given the fact that, for instance, the third line item on our headlines is that the Senate pays Joshua Dare 85.5 million naira allowance in prison, yet our schools are suffering. Yet a senator who has been indicted for corruption is being paid 85.5 million naira. So you understand the frustrations of the students. You understand the frustrations of the teachers, the professors. Well,
I don't think the students are actually frustrated by that. Maybe the 85.5 million naira payments for someone in prison could be frustrating for the student. But don't you feel if this money was appropriated towards the welfare of the students, building better, more effective infrastructure for students and teachers, that we would have a more quality education system? True, we will have more.
So therefore the strike is justified.
Strike is justified. I wouldn't agree ever that the strike is justified, because as long as students have to stay at home, it's not justified. No matter what. We can't say it's the child's fault because the parents are not talking. Okay, it's the association.
The teachers have children too. Yeah. They have to pay the school fees of their children.
Yes, their children are also suffering. Some of them have kids that are already in school and they're also on strike, so they're also suffering the same thing. But maybe they look at it this way: my child is at home so that I can earn more money and they can go to school and we can pay more school fees, or they can maybe do the masters immediately. Sometimes finances could be a constraint and other things. But I just think that the lecturers themselves and the government, on the other hand, they're not doing anything to help the kids. Two parents, and your child is sent home from school, you didn't pay school fees. The two parents have to worry about it, right? But on this one, they're not worried. The government is not looking like they're worried, because if you're worried about it, you had a 2010 agreement, you would have done something about it. This is 8 years later. It's not nice.
Most definitely. Buhari and other presidential candidates signed peace accord. We have a video. Let's take a look at it.
This one here now. You have to salute me.
I have seen you. Thank you very much. Keep on trying. Don't give up. Thank you. Very good to see you. Regards to my God. Come on.
The PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar was absent at that signing.
He was there the next day to sign.
Why do you think he missed the general signing?
I don't know why he missed it. You know, I forgot my shoes someday when I was going to work, and I forgot my shoes. You know, things happen. It could be anything.
He forgot it, but he was heading there, but he forgot.
No, I one day I was going to work and I forgot my shoes. So that's my excuse. But anything could have happened.
Yeah.
That's why he wasn't there the first day.
It's
and
interesting.
He went to sign in.
Yeah, I would be interested to see what his response to that was. I don't think I quite caught that during the week. His response to why he wasn't there at the main signing of the peace accord. But I know on social media a couple of people had responded, how can you sign a peace accord when you didn't sign the Electoral Act, which will see to peaceful, free, fair and credible elections?
Great questions coming up on that one. And as much as this peace accord is good, this is between the heads of the presidential candidates of these parties. Now, where the peace accord is really important is at the local government levels when the elections are on, when some people decide, oh, the ballot box looks like a normal cloth box you want to take home. You know, those are the things that we need to worry about. The orientation agency needs to do a lot of work when it comes to going to all the local governments to ensure. I think also parents have a lot of roles to play because they say they are touts who come and disrupt elections. They are children of someone. They are people's children. So we could talk to them, and some of them are people's uncles, dads, and so we should talk to them and try and ensure that we have a peaceful election this time around. I know the importance of peace. You know the importance of peace, but some people forget. So let's just remind them. It's good we signed the peace accord, but let's be honest with you. Those who will disrupt and didn't attend this peace accord.
Well, I don't think it's. I don't think we should whittle down the importance of the presidential candidates signing this peace accord because their rhetoric when it comes to elections is very important. When a presidential candidate tells his followers to destroy, to be violent, to do certain things, and they follow suit, then I think we should be able to hold that candidate responsible for the actions of their followers. So I think it's very important that it was signed, but I also think that, as you said, an orientation amongst the voters is also equally as important. But moving on, President Buhari writes, the National Assembly says he will lay the 2019 budget on December 19th. This is coming late again, but we'll skip this for now because we don't have much time on the headlines. The Nigerian Election Debates Group, NEDG, and the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, BON, picked 5 political parties, ACPN, ANN, APC, PDP, and YPP, for the vice presidential and presidential debate holding December 14th, which held yesterday, December 14th, and the presidential debate, which would hold on January 19th. I was there at the vice presidential debate yesterday. It was very interesting. Very, very interesting. I think the response truly revealed the pulse of many Nigerians. The vice president, I thought, did a phenomenal job. So did the vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. There were 3 other candidates, as I said, the ACP and ANN and YPP. Some of them struggled a bit to sort of discuss the issues, given their lack of experience in governance. But I think the PDP and the APC really stood out because they have, you know, years of experience also. But we had so many tweets on social media. We did a poll. I don't know if we have that image up. We asked, well, I asked, Yemi Osinbajo or Peter Obi, who do you think did better? Who do you think won the VP debate? And as you can see, Peter Obi is winning right now at 67%. I don't have my glasses, so I can't see quite well, but the poll is still up for, I believe, another 15 hours, so people can also go there and vote on that poll. My Twitter handle is @Osasoigbenajon. So many comments on there, people saying people contradicting some of the statistics the PDP vice presidential candidate Peter Obi gave, some people contradicting the statistics that Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the VP, gave. So it's very interesting to see how that goes.
Great. I'm excited about the debate, and I seem to remember a lot of things were said before the APC came into power, and we've not seen a lot of those, and I'm always particular about that. If you say you're going to do something, you're going to work on something, let's do it. Most times when we interview political candidates, they say they talk a good talk, but I'm not sure they will be able to walk the walk. That's where the issue is. And as much as I listen to the debates, I like to get your insight on different things. At the end of the day, when you're given the opportunity to do this job, I want to see that you're doing it, not, oh, I said something then. And
you see, I think the debate actually reveals the competence of most of these leaders. Because someone sitting beside me at the debate yesterday said, how did some of these people make it to this stage? How? Because they couldn't articulate their policy coherently, you know, and they were taking aback that if these people are vice presidential candidates, Nigeria is in trouble. But I think most importantly, yesterday revealed the importance of debate. Yesterday revealed the importance of dialogue with the Nigerian people. Previously on the political segment of the weekend show, we revealed why is it important to debate. And we came up with the theory that Nigerian leaders need to be held accountable. It's not okay to just go around, share a bag of rice and say, I will do this and do that. A debate gives you, it's an avenue to question how are you going to do this? How are you going to implement this policy? And I think yesterday the PDP and APC particularly, and some of what the lady from the YPP said, were also very spot on in terms of implementation. On
talking about articulating what their policies and a lot of things, you see, the good thing about running or having an idea and making sure it comes to fruition is if it's your idea, you can push it. Any question or any challenge that comes up, the idea you have will help you solve it quickly. But if that policy is not designed from your idea, you will have issues with loopholes in it. You might hit a snag when you're trying to explain some things. You can't even pass on your idea to people. Very true, very true. I'll briefly run through this because we're running out of time. 70-year-old Yakubu Chanji marries 15-year-old girl in Niger State. This breaks my heart. I think it's repulsive. I think it's disgusting. I think that no religion, no tribe, no ethnicity supports child marriage. I'm sick and tired of people saying, oh, it's part of our culture, it's part of our religion. That's rubbish. That is absolute rubbish, and it's unacceptable. No religion supports child marriage. I don't care what it is. I've studied the Quran, I've studied the Bible, Buddhism, whatever it is, no one supports the abuse of child. It's non-consensual. It's absolutely ridiculous. I see a tweet that I sent out yesterday also on there about this. It makes me speechless all the time. I've done investigative reports. I've been a journalist for almost 4 years now. I've done investigative reports. I've spoken to people across the aisle, stakeholders, Islamic clerics, leaders, children, mothers, and it's not okay. It's poverty-driven. Child marriage is poverty-driven. You never see a rich person giving their 15-year-old out for marriage. So the people who are justifying this, the people who are supporting this should be ashamed of themselves. And the government, you need to ensure that the states are domesticating the Child's Right Act. Enough is enough in this country. How can a 71-year-old be marrying a 15-year-old? Where is that done? And people are sitting back and think this is acceptable? It's absolutely ridiculous. We need to all stand up and speak out against this injustice. Enough is enough. Moving on, because we don't have enough time. Okay, you can just before we move on, people attended the said ceremony, right? How do you smile? It roused me up. So, let me just run through the remaining of the headlines. The High Court in Maitama has sacked Donald Duke. Declares former Information Minister Jerry Gana as the winner of the presidential primaries for the Social Democratic Party. Dr. Junaid Mohammed, Donald Duke's running mate, has stepped down, as the vice presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, and rumor has it that he has moved to the PDP. Politicians. You don't like the color? According to in the social media language, that's savage. President Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for offenses including paying women for their silence during the 2016 election. Women that President Trump allegedly assaulted, by the way. Theresa May survived a no-confidence vote, but she won't be leading the Conservative Party into the next general elections. We talked briefly about this last week, and I said that if you can't take the heat, get out the kitchen. And although I'm all for women empowerment, I'm all for more women at the helm of affairs, I want competent women, I want strong women, and I want women who can grab the bull by its horn. Well, there's a big question mark for Theresa May on that one, but I say yes for the lawyer that was sent to jail. So what's going on in sports? Well, a lot of things going on in sports. Egypt At first, they came out and said, well, Cameroon stripped of the 2019 Nations Cup hosting right. Well, we're not interested. And the next thing, oh, yes, I remember we're discussing with our sports minister. We're interested now. So they say they're working on a document. They will send it to CAF. And CAF's executive committee will meet on the 9th of January to talk about, to choose a new host for the 2019 African Cup of Nations. It will be coming up in June. It's the first 24-team format Nations Cup. So, yeah, that will be happening. That's for Egypt. And also, Tunisia named a new coach during the week. Yes, they named Alain Giresse. He has experience on the African continent. He has coached Mali. He has coached Senegal. So, yes, a good experience. Now, Tunisia sacked their previous coach, Fawzi Benzati, 4 days after he qualified them for the Nations Cup. Not good, not fair. But they sacked him, and he has to. He's gone, and now they have Alain Giresse.
4 days after he had qualified them.
Not nice.
But why was he fired?
Yeah, there could be a lot of reasons. Maybe they qualified, they were not satisfied with the quality of play from the team, or they don't think that the way the team qualified would be good enough for them to lift the Nations Cup title. So, but I followed Tunisia during the Nations Cup qualifiers. I think they did well enough in their group to qualify. So I would like to keep tabs on Tunisia and see how they go on, because Giresse signed a contract till June 2020. So that's for 2 years, and let's see how that pans out for Tunisia in that one. Also, the BBC named their African Footballer of the Year. This is a tradition that's become almost a culture for Africans. This year, there was a record 650,000 votes for the BBC, and Mohamed Salah was named African Player of the Year.
Where is he from?
Egypt.
Okay.
Mohamed Salah. So he came out to talk about it. This is his second consecutive year winning it. Last year it was a bit closer. It was the Nigerians were all about Victor Moses.
Exactly. I was just about to say, when are we going to see one of our Super Eagles play on there?
When we have footballers that dedicate themselves to winning every week. Not that they're not dedicated as footballers. It's just that there's this level we need to get to be able to compete with the likes of the Mo Salahs and the likes of I want to say Cristiano Ronaldo, but I'm thinking maybe it's too far-fetched. Maybe the who else do I want to call? The Messis, the Mbappes, 19-year-olds making headlines in football. You know, we have to get to that level. We're not there yet. We're just some levels below. That's why we didn't even have a nominee in this African Footballer of the Year award. Okay, so Salah was nominated alongside Mehdi Benatia, Kalidou Koulibaly, Sadio Mane, and Thomas Partey in that one. So, of course, he joins. He's the first player since JJ Okocha won it back-to-back. Okay, he's the first player to win it back-to-back again. So, other Egyptians who have won it, also, you remember Mohamed Aboutrika, he won it in 2008, and also Mohamed Barakat won it in 2005. And more coming in from sports headlines. We see the International Canoeing Federation were busy during the week. They put their hammer down on some Chinese athletes, and the names are female paddlers Shen Fangtian and Huan Mian. They were both who both appeared at the opening canoe sprint World Cup of the year in Szeged in Hungary. Well, they were banned and were fined. Of course, in that one, they were caught. They were banned for testing positive to a diuretic called trimethylene, and it's usually used for high blood pressure. So it's not
International
Canoeing Federation.
Wow.
Yes.
I had no idea that actually existed. That's a thing.
Yeah, it's
so we actually have Nigerians here who are just
and the last Olympics we competed for the first time in
Nigeria.
Yes.
Oh, that's
bobsleigh
exciting.
And some other things.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's good.
Nice.
But the coaches of these athletes,
bobsleighing is not the same thing as canoe.
It's under canoe. Yes.
Oh,
there's kayak, there's bobsleigh, there's a lot of
the canoe I was thinking about, is that the one we use in our local?
No, the ones they use is a bit more modified.
I see.
It's round, and
I see.
They also pedal.
Yeah.
You know, they're the ones of one team. There's one team in the canoe, and there's 2-3 teams. Depends on the type of competition.
Wow.
Okay. Then, of course, the coaches of both athletes have also been banned for a year and fined about $1,400, but it's mostly 10,000 Chinese yen. Away from there, good news for Novak Djokovic in tennis. He was named the ITF World Champion for 2018. He was named also alongside Simona Halep, who was named the Women's World Champion for 2018. Now, in the year, Novak Djokovic was, he won the French Open, and it was also world #1 to the end of the year. And Simona Halep, she has been world #1 for about 40 weeks ongoing. She's still world #1 right now. So kudos to them. It's good when you see that hard work at the end of the year has paid off.
Okay, most definitely.
All these athletes that we see, we talk about them. I love to talk about these athletes, but I would also love to sing to the high heavens of Nigerian athletes doing great things around the world. But before you get to that level, you need the grassroots support first. You need the support from your home. That's your government. We're not getting it. So.
I most definitely agree. And, you know, just going through these headlines, back to the canoeing, I feel like we have so much untapped talent in Nigeria.
Also, so you know what? I haven't seen a sport that Nigeria has competed in that we don't have talent in.
Wow.
So let them create a new one tomorrow. And then they have to come here and find out if we don't have. I have not seen any sport that we have no talent in.
But you know, when we keep on talking about the government, I think of the NBA, for instance, the National Basketball Association in America. And most of it is sponsored by the private sector. Private sector people own these basketball teams, you know, so why are we so reliant on the government? Why can't we challenge those in the private sector to invest funds into, you know, the sports industry?
I'll explain something. Now, before the NBA became the NBA, there was a basketball federation that decided, oh, the NBA will be a good league to have basketball in, right? Now, let's also take an example from football. The English Premier League is big. Is it the queen of football leagues? That's what it looks like. It's the beautiful bride of football leagues right now. They have a Premier League. They have an English Football Association, EFA, and then there's a Premier League. That is the body that manages the Premier League. Now the NBA manages the NBA, right? So they were coined out from their federations. Now our federations here are representatives of the government. So they have budgets, and they go for budgets. They apply for their budget, and they try and get it approved. You know, so that budget, we ask the question: do you get the money you need to do what you need to do? That's the first thing, because you need to have structure.
So my question is, why can't we privatize it? Why can't I, as a private individual, come and say, okay, I have 100 million naira, and I would like to buy, you know, this
the right
soccer
to a certain
team. Exactly.
League, or you want to have a league
exactly.
for the next
So it's then
20
my
years.
responsibility to sponsor their welfare.
Yes, it will be your responsibility to sponsor the welfare, but that is something that could work if we don't see people who try and sabotage it at the end of the day. That's where the problem is. Also, we forgot the National Sports Festival is on. It ends today. Tomorrow is 16th, yeah. So it ends tomorrow. But it's been on, and Delta State have been on top.
I watched something like that. Kudos to the governor. I saw he had pledged a million naira
as a Thursday morning, Delta State had 75 gold medals. Now, if he pledged a million naira per gold medal, that's 75 million. So I am silently...
was it per gold medal?
Per gold. So I'm silently begging the athletes, let's not bankrupt the state.
That's a fine place to leave it. Thank you so much, Odiri. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll bring you the lifestyle segment of the weekend show. We will be discussing bride price versus traditional marriage list. Interesting topic. Stay tuned.